Hey Carl, I'm 2 minutes and 39 seconds into episode 242, and I think the game you're talking about is Traveler.
Carl Rodriguez is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. That was Jason Connerly at the top of the show. And yes, he wins a Benny. If you ever join me for a game, you get an extra one of the meta currency when we play a game that has meta currency, whether that be Savage Worlds or a Modifius game, or I don't know, Pathfinder 2 has hero points. In Pathfinder 1, they're optional, and since I'm a mean GM, I'm not going to have them anymore. I guess Eberron in 5e. Well, you have inspiration, but no one really uses it. Eberron actually in 3.5 did have like a action point, so I guess you could have them in there. And I don't know what other meta currencies one has in their games, but yeah, that's pretty cool. So Jason, let's talk about the show first. Jason has another call in that we will talk about, but here in this show, well, we're going to talk about some the games that I played. I got a new product that it's pretty cool and excited about that I'd like to get to the table, but I don't know. You know how those things go. And then I do it on no. What else do I do? There's something else I did. Right. So the other thing I did, well, I didn't do anything else, but the other thing I'm going to do is ask about and discuss whether you need, as I discussed the games that I ran or played, do you need action, like fighting specifically, because sometimes there's action without fighting, to have an exciting game session? So it'd be great if I got some feedback and call-ins regarding that question. I also have a great call about White Boxology from Joe Salvador, the Raven God. So without further ado, um, well, let's get on with it. You're up, Jason.
Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Hey Carl, just listen to your MOSR episode with BJ. Great episode. Um, so, as far as the number of weapon proficiencies outstripping the number of weapons allowed that was alluded to, that's in Rules Cyclopedia with the weapons mastery rules, because your non-fighter classes start with two weapon proficiencies under those weapon mastery rules, but magic users in Rule Cyclopedia only can use daggers, period. So now, as far as Runehammer, Hank Infernal's turn order at ICRPG, yeah, the way that works is you start. It doesn't really matter if it's clockwise, counterclockwise, but you go around the table, and like BJ explained, everything's in turn order. Even out of combat, it's in turn order, and it just goes around the table, clockwise manner or whatever. And if people want to change their order, they get up and change seats, you know. But yeah, that's how it works, and it works really well. So highly recommended for that. Anyhow, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Jason, thank you for that call in. And yeah, I'm not going to look up Rule Cyclopedia or how BX does the weapon proficiency. I guess it's kind of funny, but I don't think BX even uses proficiency. Well, weapon mastery, I guess, in BECME Rules Encyclopedia. But I was going to look at weapon proficiency in other D&D games, AD&D specifically. I don't know OD&D, and I don't know Chainmail. So we're going to look at AD&D, first and second edition. But first, thank you for what Index RPG does. I think that's a great idea, and it could definitely help to speed things up around the table or to really spotlight people around the table as the game goes. So that's a great idea. All right, weapon proficiency. Let's look at AD&D Player's Handbook. So, magic users can use daggers, darts, or staves, and they start with one initial proficiency, and they don't get another weapon proficiency until sixth level, or one every six levels. So, yeah, It'll be like, the 13th level, 12th level before they get all three of those. And their non-proficiency penalty is a -5. So it subtracts to the hit dice when it applies to attacks of the character when using a weapon in there. It doesn't say anything about damage, but it might say that in the DMG. All right, so let's see if there is an amendment in... So maybe if you get to high enough level, that could happen. But let's see if the amendment in AD&D 1.5 or Unearthed Arcana says anything different. And for reference, before I turn to Unearthed Arcana, that is on page 19 for the types of weapons a magic user can use. Oh, and an illusionist, if that matters. And 37 for the weapon proficiency and proficiency progression. Interestingly, in Unearthed Arcana, the magic user adds caltrop, knife, and sling to dagger, dart, and staff. And they still only start with one proficiency and get them one every 6 levels. So I don't think you're going to have a problem catching up or out using the number of proficiencies that you might have. If you're using non-weapon proficiencies, they get more of them. Oh, first off, page 13 again for the types of weapons for magic users, and page 26 in Unearthed Arcana for the proficiency table. So, non-weapon proficiencies. On page 23 in the Dungeoneer Survival Guide, but it says the same thing in the Wilderness Survival Guide, magic users, they get 3 non-weapon proficiencies, and every 2 levels, per 6 levels, they get they get 2 every 6 levels. 2 per 6 levels, so I guess 1 every 3 levels for non-weapon proficiencies. And fighters, they get 1 every 3rd level. So it's about the same progression for that. I think the best that gets... who gets the most non-weapon proficiencies? Clerics, it looks like. 2. They start with 2 and 1 every 2 levels. Maybe it evens out. But anyway, there's so many non-weapon proficiencies, it doesn't matter. You won't catch up. So I don't think that'll happen, really, for magic users in 1st edition AD&D. In 2nd edition, on page 50, we have proficiency slots for wizards. They also get 1, and the next one they get 1 every 6 levels, -5 penalty, the same as before. And they start with 4 non-weapon proficiencies and get 1 every 3 levels. I do not seem to be able to find a restriction of the type of weapon that they can use, however. Yeah, I don't seem to find one, so I guess there you go. Can use any weapon, but they're limited in the number of times they can pick a weapon, and they can only start with 1. And it's a pretty hefty -5 penalty. Well, so there you go. Weapons proficiencies, I don't think, you'd be hard-pressed to have more weapon proficiencies than you have weapons to be able to use for a magic user, I believe. All right, next up we have Joe Salvador talking about white boxology. It's a great discussion. I probably don't have much to say after, but thank you, Joe, for that call. It's great to let us know about the white box.
Hey Carl, it's Joe. Just calling in after your MOSR episode. I really enjoyed your talk with BJ about OSR games, and especially the games that you guys are choosing to play, and how you're using those rule sets, at your tables. Everybody knows I'm a big fan of Whitebox. Like BJ, I used Whitebox to introduce my stepson and his friends into tabletop role playing. Kind of went off without a hitch, man. I originally used Pathfinder, actually, and that had no traction. He was not interested in that big book at all. Briefly, I used, was it Basic Fantasy role-playing? Chris Gonerman, I think, is the author. And soon after that, I found Whitebox, and we just dove right into Whitebox, and it, I didn't even run it for a long time. Like, they took over, I stepped away, and they played for quite a while. So what else? There was maybe some clarifications, I guess, at least my understanding of Swords and Wizardry. So White Box is based entirely on the original 3 Little Brown books from the set, except for the Thief, which is it was drawn from Greyhawk, I believe. Swords and Wizardry Core, which doesn't seem to have lasted very long. It seems like it just kind of perished. Core included more classes and maybe spells from both Greyhawk and Blackmoor. The Assassin and the Ranger, I believe. No, Assassin and Druid, I think, are from Blackmoor, and maybe the Ranger came out of Greyhawk, something along those lines. Complete, rather than being an AD&D clone, is actually based on the entirety of the OD&D system. So not only the box set, but all of the supplements, Eldritch Wizardry, etc., as well as Strategic Review. And it's interesting to see like how close it is to AD&D. It's almost like a simplified AD&D, right? But it is entirely inspired by the OD&D system, I guess. What else? White Box fantastic medieval adventure game. Charlie Mason, really cool guy. I've had some dealings with him in the past. Probably my favorite OSR rule set. I think it's super clean. It's a really cool little package. It's a fun book to look at. It has cool art in it. And for my money, I'll take White Box or even Complete over BX or OSE any day of the week. To my mind, I mean, well, all these rule sets kind of do the same thing. I feel like White Box stands apart in its ability to just kind of get out of the way. I feel like it's really open, really conducive to sort of narrative play, and rulings on the fly. I feel like with OSE and BX, I feel like sometimes the procedural aspect kind of bog things down. To finish that thought, I realize that a lot of those procedural things can be hand waved or ignored, totally depending on what the GM wants to do and how they want to run the game. Like I said, the systems are very similar. They do similar things. But I do think the White Box is a solid choice. I think it's really clean, really easy to run at the table. And I don't think you can go wrong with it. So that's all I had. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk about OSR things. Thanks for mentioning Eldritch Tales. Very cool. Hope you guys do some more, man. I'd love to hear some more OSR talk. All right, man. Cheers.
Hey, Joe. Thank you for the call. Yeah, I really need to revisit Sword and Wizardry. I played a game of Sword and Wizardry at North Texas RPG Con last year, and I really enjoyed it. And I have the box of that, which I guess is White Box. I don't know. But thank you for all those clarifications, and I definitely want to revisit it and check it out. I know I have a few of these like free RPG Day things or little promos for Sword and Wizardry that I can just run as a one-shot, see if I like it. But I got a lot of retro clones that I can run and use, and some I enjoy more than others, and I really want to get more to the table. It's just finding the players, right? I have my home group, which we play regular every week, and we flip games, Warhammer Fantasy and Pathfinder 2 right now, and they're some will play anything, but some are like, I only want to play the modern game, I don't like the old game. So I got to find the right people. I know Amy is always willing to try, and I know we have scheduled at some point, maybe in March, we'll try our hand at AD&D, like a dual game, where she's single player and a bunch of hench persons, however you say that. But we'll see how that goes. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, I think, Joe. Thank you for that wonderful explanation. I love your stuff. I can't wait to see more of it. And I'll talk to you soon. Hey, we're going to play Bloodlords today. So who is everyone playing? I'll go this way, but you guys can't see. Clockwise. All right.
I'm playing Urian Kelbalar, an elven Dampier investigator.
I'm Sinn Fein, a elf Dampier witch.
I'm Brian Bredford, also known as Smiling Fox, and I am a swashbuckling skeleton.
I'm playing Ash, a Goron monk with a money counter background.
I am Slevin, a human Nephilim, backgrounds of propaganda promoter and a mastermind rogue.
All right. Yep. So a very unique cast of characters for our Bloodlords campaign. This is the second session. The first session, we almost ran over a guy with an undead cow, bull with big horns. It was a cow with big horns. Anyway, so we're going to continue. Haha, I was able to get my home group players to record themselves. And pretty cool to do. We did play Bloodlords tonight, our second session. The first session, like I said, they started the investigation. And in the second session, they finished the first investigation, which is going to lead to more unraveling the onion, so to speak. It's a cool investigative adventure. But Paizo's always really good at the low-level first adventure and an adventure path, and then sometimes they bog down or drag. But we'll see how this one goes. It's definitely a very evocative, descriptive adventure. There's a lot of eating. There's a lot of description of what the people are eating. There is like a description of the architecture, a lot of bones and death and macabre, since they're playing in this land called Geb, which is ruled by a ghost king lich thing. And undead kind of rule. Undead are in positions of power. Oddly, their patron is not undead, but a necromancer, and seems to have this hidden, smiley face and very jovial, but definitely some of the players have picked up on her sadistic streak. So we'll see if that turns into anything. But it's been pretty good. This session was a lot more efficient in that the players kind of knew the rules and how things went. We had more combats than just the one, and ducking around and more investigation. And like I said, they finished the first investigation. They were rewarded by their patron, and now they have a deed and a key to a house, a manor house, that they can call and make a base, which is kind of neat. So they'll be able to work on this base, dump money into the base, so to speak, and it can be their base of operations for the remainder of the adventure path, one hopes. So we'll see, unless they move from Grey Dirge onto other places, but we'll see. I was able, also kind of neat, I printed out a 16 by 20 map of Grey Dirge, and I laminated it, or it had it laminated so we can kind of see where people go and all that. So I realized I haven't really talked about a game since my recap podcast of January 26th, though we have played quite a few games since then. A lot of them you can see the actual play on my YouTube channel. I was actually able to play on Jan 27th, I think we released it. We premiered it on Jan 27th. The Hardmaster RPG, the first part of the Sagar saga, the saga of Gundar Green Eye. I need my words today. I need my words. It's just late. You know how it goes. And Amy and I is a solo game or dual game, however you call them. Amy's playing, she's playing herself, and then has her two brothers are player characters or NPCs until other people want to join us, and then they can become player characters, or however that can work. We haven't gotten back to it, but I thought it was pretty cool, actually. And there was no combat. I think Amy looked at the character sheet, understood that there's like not hit points but wounds, and understood the lethality of the potential conflict. She saw that her and her brothers would be overwhelmed by the potential combatants, so they hid, they fled, they sabotaged. An amazing roll. Amy sometimes break roll 20. She got a critical roll when she used a fire arrow created from some pitch that they had found in a burning building, and a fire arrow, and shot the arrow into the rigging of these marauders and or potential adversaries, marauders in their mind, and basically fired the boat so they can't follow, which is kind of cool. We have also played some Twilight 2000, and we had a really neat couple episodes where, after the adventures that I've talked about, and I talked about how they captured the airfield, how the adventurers kind of then planned, the Free Krakow Coalition, the survivors, planned an engagement to tackle and intercept a convoy of their current nemesis, Baron Zarni, the Black Baron, in the ruins of Warsaw. We're playing through those, and they did the planning in one session, and the second session, well, the intel wasn't quite accurate, so it was a two-pronged engagement. The convoy had split up, and one was guarding a bridge, and the players, half the scouting group, engaged them very quickly, took them out with surprise, and then kind of waited for the others to arrive. They talked about it, and then they sent the Hind. They have a Hind D. Maybe in retrospect, I should not have given them a Hind D, but yeah, the Hind D flew up there in like 3 minutes to where the camp was supposed to be. They had intercepted the radio communications, and the Hind kind of dropped mortar rounds on him, and blew them up. One of their armored fighting vehicles, the bad guys, armored fighting vehicles, was able to flee and kind of serpentine through ruins and fields and avoid the Hind. And unfortunately, Amy was rolling very badly and did not hit she fired a 5-inch air-to-surface missile and missed. She fired the Gatling gun and missed. She hasn't fired any of the AGS-17 that's on the Hind, but tried to drop a bomb and only got a side glance. But now it's kind of cordoned it, has been trying to talk to these guys, and now has delayed things enough so the rest of the group can come up, and we'll probably have maybe them start shooting at the BMP to destroy it. They did destroy one BMP and capture the infamous chemical rounds, or secure chemical rounds that they heard that the Baron, that's the reason they're attacking this convoy. They did secure one set of chemical rounds, and then Amy's already planning ahead, and the other players are planning ahead to attack Baron Zarni's stronghold, which is the Ministry of Technology in Warsaw, which is what they called Stalin's cupcake or Stalin's birthday cake or something that Joseph Stalin built in Warsaw during the Cold War. But half of it is blown off or something like that in this Twilight 2000 fictitious universe. So the other game we played, we did play a session of Walking Dead, the continuing Walking Dead, where the player characters were able to make it back to their home base. What things happened? Now I remember. I rolled some random encounters for their journey back. They ran into another straggler from a different faction since they had taken out the Living, and that the Living never really gave chase. I kept rolling randomly to see if the Living gave chase, and it just didn't happen. I guess they were one of the player characters had shot the leader of the Living and incapacitated them, didn't kill them, but dealt them like a wound that would knock them unconscious, or enough damage to knock them unconscious. And then they fled, and and they also sent a walker swarm into the Living's factory compound, and that probably has disrupted things. So the Living have not given chase or retaliated yet, but they had two random encounters. One, they found a straggler who's being chased by a swarm, and they're able to rescue them. And then they came upon this walker walking around on the road. They had found a vehicle, and unfortunately they crashed it. Not 18 kilometers later, they crashed it because they were distracted by this walker walking. He had a gun and ammo, like an ammo belt on him, and they tried to go up to it, and it turned out to be an ambush by some other people. So there was a tenuous situation where one of the player characters was almost shot, but used the zombie body as cover after killing the zombie, or dispatching of the zombie walker that had the gun and stuff. The gun even jammed, but then the people in the crashed vehicle were a little beat up, but not that hurt. They just kind of crashed into a ditch, and then when the driver tried to get it out, it rolled over. Anyway, they finally got out after some time, and then were able to set up covering fire, and then the player was able to run into a building and not get shot at, and the other player was able to take out the sniper that was shooting. And then there was another confrontation, but then that person was talked down and said, "Hey man, I don't know what you're about." And there's random tables to see the disposition of these people, and the player made a great manipulation roll to talk this person down that was attacking them. And it turns out this person was a nice person and was just caught up in the situation because the other person was bad. So they got a new potential ally and person that they took to the compound. So pretty cool little session there. That is on the YouTube too. I think it's going to premiere soon on the YouTube. I think this weekend it's going to premiere. And then we've done a couple sessions of Deadlands with the new Night Train adventure. We premiered one on January 29th, and it's the Night Train adventure. It turned out really well. A great setup and investigation. I really like Deadlands a lot, the Savage Worlds edition. And we have some unique characters. We have a huckster, a hex-slinger, so a huckster that has been able to etch magic runes onto their weapons. We have a Herod, so an undead, living undead, and then we have a bounty hunter, and they're a nice, cool trio. I guess it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, really. And I don't know which one's which. Probably the ugly is the Herod, right? But anyway, there was a really neat investigation. They found out that there are these. It's a 25th anniversary version of the classic Night Train adventure from Deadlands. And if you know the story, well, you can Google it and look it up. Suffice it to say, they become vampire hunters. So it's pretty neat. And they just this last session we did, which I think premieres next week, is like the conclusion to the kind of two-parter that I did. So I thought that was really exciting. Our Tales from the Broken Anvil we played, and that is on hiatus. But the last session, all these sessions, is curious, are very action-filled, except for the Harn adventure. And maybe I'm bracketing this correctly inadvertently, but because I'm going to talk about anyway. So we did have a session of Tales from the Broken Anvil, but that is on hiatus because 3 of the players are going to not be able to make it for a little bit because it's tax season and they work in accounting and get to do people's taxes. Haha. So, but that was a really exciting session. It's a adventure encounter that I put together myself. It's called Against the Cartels. It's a multi-parter, probably 2 to 3 sessions maybe, and we'll see how they do. But I think after this, they're going to cause so much confusion and chaos and make some enemies against more than one cartel in the city of Sharn that then they're going to have to duck out and maybe go adventuring on another continent. Maybe Zendrick follow the path and the leads from the arcana that they found in the last adventure. So the missing arcana that they found in the last adventure, they'll probably have somehow sponsor an expedition to Zendrick, which would be kind of neat. We played Shadowdark, which was kind of cool. That premiered February 13th this week, and that was a really fun game. I hope we get to it. I did not run that. My friend Anne ran it, and I really liked how Shadowdark worked. BJ and I talked about it a little bit on our MOSR podcast, so check that out. And lastly, we played Kingmaker and Traveler, and none of those games have had combat for a little bit. And I would say that the Kingmaker adventure, while the first session of our Kingmaker adventure without combat was pretty interesting and exciting, because the players they finish the first book in Kingmaker, and now they get their land charter officially, and they start building their village, and we did all the land stuff. In the second session, we built the village stuff, and that took a little longer, and we went through a turn, like we went through a kingdom turn. I think they're called a kingdom turn, and that was just kind of slow, and now I'm debating whether I should just do it on the Discord or not, but I think it's important to just do the rolls, honestly, and not do it on the side, but maybe it'll go faster as we learn the process. Or maybe I was a little tired, and maybe the players were a bit tired too. So it was a lack of energy in that session, which doesn't really help with my premise that a game can be exciting without action or combat. But the other session, the Traveler session, I thought was very exciting. They started our murder investigation, and the players asked a lot of questions. Were savvy. They did sort of the investigation. Like did the cursory body examination. Now they're doing an autopsy, and they did a bit of an autopsy, actually. We got to that, and then they examined the crime scene. So we did that, and now they're pursuing leads. They're finding a missing person of interest on the ship. It's a ship, a cruise liner in jump space, So no one can get away, at least for the next 5 days. If they don't solve it within 5 days, well, that person could get away. So we'll see how that goes. But they have a lot of people to interview, and I really want to see how this murder mystery goes. And I think it is. The way I talk about it, you could tell I'm kind of excited about it. So I hope it goes well. And that's kind of a roundup of the games that I've been playing. And I guess maybe I'm answering my own question that you don't have to have combat for a game to be exciting and compelling. And I know a player of mine who maybe they didn't like the system in a game, and the Tales from the Loop game said it was a really exciting session, even though there was no combat. And that was Tales from the Loop, which is kids on bikes, like Stranger Things, right? Except without any. There was definitely some conflict and some tension, but there was no combat, and they still kind of won the scenario. And I thought it was really fun. So I guess it depends, which is always the answer, it seems. Anyway, so I think that'll be it. And next up, well, I'll conclude here. If you want to skip ahead or end here, if you don't like unboxings, but I did unbox something that I think is pretty cool. I'll give my thank yous here and then do the unboxing after the whoosh of the rocket. There's an unboxing, and it's for a neat game. I'll have to put the link in the show notes if I haven't already. And it's for Dr. Grodd Bort's Scientific Adventure Violence. It's a science fiction role-playing game using a 5e-ish rule set. And I have like 3 5e-ish rule sets. 4 sci-fi games that I'd like to get to the table, and this is one of them. It's kind of like crazy retro sci-fi, and you'll hear it in the unboxing. All right, thank you so much for listening. This has been the Geomologist Presents. Thank you, TJ Drennan, for the intro and outro music. Thank you, Amy, for the clever clip art. You can send me feedback at geomologist@gmail.com, either by text or voice message. You can get me on the Discord, hashtag Carl Rodriguez, or at Carl Rodriguez, however that works. You can send me a voice message there. I have a SpeakPipe account that you can leave me a 90-second message. And if you want to just leave me a cute, short, 1-minute message, you can still use the Anchor for Podcasters, Spotify for Podcasters, web app to leave me a message. Thank you so much. Good night, good rolling, and on with Dr. Grodd Bort's scientific violence space adventure thing. I have this box. I'm going to open it. The box measures 27 centimeters or 10.5 inches by 13 inches or 33 centimeters. It is also somewhat thick, 11 centimeters, 4.25 inches. And my cat wants to get involved. Nope, cat not with the blade nearby. It's my new cat, Joule, Joule, named after the chemist, not Jewel, like Jewel, diamonds and stuff. All right, it's from Exalted Funeral. I think I know what this is. Will I ever get to play it? I don't know. It was really fun when I was doing the Kickstarter, and I got to move Joule again so he doesn't get cut with the blade or near the blade. So open it. It's somewhat dinged and dented, and then there was, it's like someone tried to open it, or the tape on the outside is a little cut. Watch out, Joule. He's messing with the box now. I'm probably going to end up cutting myself. The box is open, the blade is retracted, and it's bubble wrap. And what we got, we got a t-shirt too. That's kind of fun. Bubble wrap. Maybe he'll go for the box. Go for the box, Joule. Because cats love boxes. So there's actually like a little, like what's in the box. Dr. Grodd Abort's Scientific Adventure, Violence, print plus PDF. I don't think they have the PDF in the box. XL, Dr. Grodbert's T-shirt, Crash and Burn. Bag, Dr. Grobert's Industries logo dice bag. Color pin, Dr. Grobert's Industries Haber Spasterdasher Castroverter, enamel pin. Dr. G logo, a patch, a tray, a Dr. G multifunction tray, and Malfunctions, a field guide to malfunction a zine. Fun stuff. So, the T-shirt unfolds first. Oh, I like the patch a lot. The patch is cool. I got hats to put a patch on. Dr. G Industries. And the pin is pretty neat, too. I don't know where I put the enamel pin. I guess if I ever cosplay. Dr. G, the bag is very nice. I'm going to have to put this all out. Except the cat keeps messing me up. Come on, cat. And the tray is actually really cool. It's a very nice tray, actually. It's got like a square tray. It's got the snaps on the corners. And it's a good thick size. And it has like a picture on the flat part, to make the tray. So Dr. Grobert's Industries is not liable for damage incurred through the use of its products, whether it's said damage or real, whatever that means. Imagine, not likely, or grievous and disfiguring. Well, let's not be dramatic. I like a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. And then we got the books that the cat is still trying to mess with, because cats like to rub their faces on books, apparently. I haven't even opened the T-shirt yet. Oh, cool. I thought it was going to be like a A4 size, but the Dr. Grobert's Scientific Adventure Violence for a role-playing game setting and supplement compatible with 5 and 5.5e. Interesting. So it is by T.J. Grackle, Brian Saliba, and Zach Thaler. Forward by Greg Broadmoor. So it's kind of like that golden age sci-fi. What are you doing, cat? No, cat. No, I'm going to push you off again. Yay, I think you finally got the hint. The cat did, as I set this stuff up. So the main book is actually pretty nice. Welcome to the most Scientologically and imaginary entertainment setting and supplement ever foisted upon this or any world. So what is it? It's retro-futuristic pulp sci-fi cosmos bursting with ray guns, rocket ships, and robots. 10 5e character classes, but scientized. 5 known species, 20 new backgrounds, 125 plus ray guns, gadgets, gizmos, 26 vehicles, 61 creatures, 26 NPCs, 8 bizarre and powerfully technological types, 4 worlds to explore. Get your ray gun, strap in, and blaze your smoking, likely radioactive trail through the solar system. It did sound pretty cool when I did the Kickstarter, and it looks pretty fun. And it's a known system, 5e, so it'd be kind of fun to do sci-fi 5e. I think I have 3 different variations of 5e sci-fi, and I'd love to get one to the table, of course. So chapter 1 is the introduction, so like a gazetteer. 2 is how do we play. Character creation is chapter 3. Equipment is chapter 4. The GM's handbook is chapter 5, so how to run the game in the DRG universe. Interplanetary bestiary is chapter 6. Dramatis persona is chapter 7, so like NPCs and appendices, etc. Malfunction tables, oh, fun. Biofiddlery is the organ, spell index, spells, 2-penny equipment. So that's kind of cool. I do like that it's called Dr. Grodbert's Scientific Adventure Violence. It says it's for adults, specifically and crucially, adults not offended by satire. All right, so it should be interesting. So I like it. It looks pretty fun. It does look really fun to play, right? Ray guns and robots, so retro sci-fi. Pretty interesting. And I don't know, I guess I did go all in and I got all the stuff where these were a lot of stretch goals. And the field guide to malfunctions. Oh, this is like a whole book and supplement on when things go kaboom and how they mess up. You gotta love it. All right. So, there you go. Picture incoming.